だがスカーは野因に紛れ忽然と姿をくらますのだった。
This looks like it's gonna be fun, man. The chase, the hunt, the thrill of the
列車
hunt.
から飛び降りるならカーブの多いこの辺りでしょう。機関車が減速しますからね。問題はここからどちらに向かったかです。
He seemed to think it was the north.
スカーの目撃情報は
If you go by the ending of the last episode.
変ですね。ここへ来るまでは派手に動き回っていたのに。
That he did. Yep. See, Kimberly knew all. He figured it out.
近所に住む老人が西へ向かう怪しい二人連れの男を目撃したとのことです。今度は西か。すぐに兵をやり、
Kimberly's not gonna
二
bite.
人連れを捕らえろ。はっ。
水の流れが変わっていますね。
そのようですが、それが何か。
破壊を得意とする錬金術師にとって
It's a simple
この
task.
程度の障害物を排除することなどたやすい。
は？
同様に山肌を破壊し落石で再び道を塞ぐこともまたしかり。兵を鍛え
Oh, the northern wall of Briggs. Let's go. Man, Kimberly's damn good. Okay, okay. Yeah. Ah!
兄さんは落ち着きがないんだよ。
そうだ、ハル。ちっちゃい時のリゼンブールの大雪、
え？
覚えてるか？
大雪？
Oh yeah, they actually showed that.
覚えてる覚えてる。
They showed the different seasons in episode 2, I believe. I mean, it's all wholesome and fun at the moment, but get ready, boys. Oh, I love this aesthetic, man. Look at this.
ブリック石の軍用列車に乗り込んだところを目撃したとのことです。
He'll figure out. He'll figure out that they split him up.
報告書通りです。
その必要はありません。また飛び降りられても困りますから。ここからは私の仕事です。
Oh boy.
あなたたちは邪魔をしないように。
There. Whoa. Hold on.
飛び移ります。速度を合わせてください。
Huh?
了解です。
So they circled back after jumping off? Okay. That's a great shot.
ドクター・マルコ、お迎えに上がりました。もう逃げられませんよ。お一人ですか？スカーはどこに？
Yeah, that's Yoki. It's not the
往
mustache.
生際が悪い。誰？
Oh shit! Oh my god!
あなたが噂のイシュバール人ですか？
Full moon, of course. Oh yes. Oh. Oh. Oh man. It's all coming back. To both of them. Oh. So he made that scene, the rock slide and everything, and then circled back onto a train? I think. Right?
ゾルフ・ジェイ・キンブリー
So.
紅蓮の錬金術師俺を覚えているか
ええ、よく覚えていますよ。あなた、
Under this room.
イシュバールの神田地区にいた。あの時あなたの周りにいたのはご家族。あなたそっくりでメガネをかけた方がいましたってね。
He's twisting it.
左脇腹から大量の血を流し、大層な苦悶の。
Wow. I mean,
まずいですね。こちらは出所したばかりで体が
that's
黙っている
rusty.
の
I
に。
mean, he's looking pretty
あちらは
good.
内乱の後も戦
But
い続
imagine
けてき
at
た。
full.
体力的にはこちらが不利。だが、所詮は壊すことしか。
Jump.
同じ主主を二度も仕留め損ねるとは。
Hold on, hold on.
この私が逃げとはとてつ
Wow,
も
he
ない
actually got him.
屈辱ですよ。次は必ず蹴りをつけましょう。
Okay, the first encounter. Scar got him good.
何があった？おい！
誰が止めていいと言った？このまま走らせろ。北へ向かえ。いいぞ。そうだ。死が迫ってくる。死を築く者は死に追われるのだ。常に死と隣り合わせ。
He said that,
魂
didn't
を
he,
かけ
before?
る仕事こそ美しさがある。なんとやりごたえのある私の戦場。
Ah, this guy, man.
スカーさんとヨキさん大丈夫でしょうか。
私たちに追っ手がないということは、うまく憲兵
When
の
you have
目
a
を
look
引
at
い
that
てくれ
face.
ているのだろうね。無事だといいが。
Oh, okay, so as expected, he's trying to.
いや、治りかけの皮膚に北国の風は応える。
Give them a
ごめん
chance
な
to
さい。
make it to
もう
the
少し
destination,
格
right?
好のいい顔に直せればよかったんですけど。
私には分相応な顔だ。満足している。ブリッグズ山脈だ。
Ooh.
北の大国ドラクマとの国境になる
Drachma.
山々だよ。
Fullmetal Alchemist.
Ooh, look at him.
Fullmetal
Whoa.
Alchemist.
Mira. Olivier. Okay, let's go.
そう、君、それオートメール？
いいえ。
ああ、そう。だったらいいんだ。
Huh.
どうした？
そう。
I mean, that certainly has automail, though.
行くか。
Oh.
泉師匠は修行時代、
Hey.
このブリッグズ山に1ヶ月放り込まれても生活したらしいぞ。
嘘だ。
でも熊も倒したって。
ブリッグズの熊は立ち上がったら2メートルを超えるんだよ。そんなの倒せるわけないじゃん。
Holy shit. Speaking of bears. Ah! Take it easy, take it easy. Whoa!
おい待てって。国軍の軍服じゃねえか。
貴様もオートメールか。ただ
Ooh,
の平凡
look
な
at that.
そっちこそ仕組み悪いのつけてんじゃねえか。
この機械美がわからんとは愚か者め。戦闘用オートメール M1913 クロコダイル。
なんだこの痛みは。
Because of the
オートメールがうまく
temperature,
動
right?
かね
his is clearly made to be effective out here from the looks of it.
え。やるのはてめえの腕だ。
Ah, yeah.
何かしたか。
Let's talk. Let's talk.
兄さん。
壁？どうした？
Yes.
バカにあたい。
Fucking
ああ、お騒がせして申し訳ありません。
Oh my.
アームストロングって。
Get that letter
ア
out.
ームストロング少佐が紹介するって言ってた。オリビエ・ミラー・アームストロング。
Olivier.
アームストロング少佐
Older
の姉ちゃん。
sister. Okay.
似てない。
でかくない。貴様何者だ。鋼の錬金術師エドワード・エルリック。セントラルのアームストロング少佐の紹介でボディチェックをしろ。怪しいものじゃないって。知らん。
This is how they do things here,
有名
kid.
人の名を語ることなど誰でもできる。お、空っぽ。読んでくれれば俺たちが怪しいものじゃないとわかる。
Yeah. Checks out.
確かにアレックス。
Oh wow.
読んでくれねえのかよ。紹介状など私には無意味だ。
Okay.
私以外の他人がつけた評価などいらん。
She has to decide,
私
right?
は私の目で人を
I
判断
like
す
it.
る。
I like it. Yes. Yes.
すげえ。
It is.
でっけえ。
Oh.
なんだこれ。すげえ。高え。でけえ。とっとと歩かんかグズども。頭の上のアンテナむしり取るぞ。
Yeah.
先に言っておくが子供扱いはせん。ここは天剣の地ブリッグズ。
It's not for kids.
弱肉強食の世界だ。
Only the strong survive. Wow. Yes.
これがスカーの兄の研究所。
真の練炭術とアメストリスの錬金術を融合させたものですね。不老不死の方は載っているでしょうか？
乗ってるといいね。これが希望の書となるか、はたまた絶望の書となるか。さあ、解読を始めよう。
Okay, yeah. That was really quite enjoyable. It was. It's a great episode for introductions. It had that great set piece, right? It's a fantastic fight scene. Full moon, in the snow, speeding train. I mean, it's a fantastic set piece. It really is. I'll get to all of that, but first of all, let's kind of focus on the ending there. The last stanza of that episode, Ed and Al coming across Olivier Mira Armstrong. I mean, that is a strong first impression, really strong first impression. I mean, you could actually infer quite a bit from just the frame I got in the last episode, right? You could tell just by the placement, the stern expression on her face, the actual pose, the two, I don't know, I'm not sure about the rankings, but I was about to call them the right-hand men or the sidekicks, not sidekicks, but, people that are under her command. So you could infer quite a bit. And, ultimately, her personality, her disposition, it actually does kind of match up my first opinion that I formed upon seeing that frame, just the frame itself, right? Even the lighting of the frame, you could actually read quite a bit into that one frame, right? So again, visual storytelling is one of the things anime is able to excel at quite a bit. But yeah, that's a great character introduction. It really is. Mira Armstrong, Olivier Mira Armstrong. And I think there's something really interesting going on here in terms of the presentation of it as well. In terms of Louis Armstrong, right? The Armstrong that all of us know up until this point. And then Olivier Mira Armstrong. Now, to me, it was pretty clear that this is a female, right? In that quick frame I got in the last episode. So the moment I see her in the mid-episode card, right? Yes, at first glance, it kind of looks like Oliver. I mean, the spelling is the same. But, the fact that she's female, I just kind of immediately assumed it's not Oliver, right? So it's got to be the French Olivier, because that's the closest to a female sounding name, right? If you are kind of looking at it from that perspective. So, but even so, I think, that name being picked, a name that could be misconstrued as Oliver, right? Or easily kind of considered to be Oliver and not Olivier. I think that's clearly by design, right? Because there's an interesting dynamic here in terms of the two Armstrongs. Because on one end, you do have Armstrong, right? He's big, he's menacing looking, on the surface level, of course. Someone quite masculine, right? Yet, he does have a totally different type of disposition, right? If you're kind of comparing his physical look and demeanor to the things he actually represents and how he carries himself. He can get quite emotional. He's quite flamboyant. He's quite compassionate. He's affectionate. All of those, right? And then on the other end, you have Olivier Mira Armstrong. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. She is really attractive looking. She is, right? Really quite feminine, I believe, at least. But the character traits are essentially the opposite of Louis Armstrong, right? Here you have someone who is kind of intensity personified. Here you have someone who you could call, the Queen of the North, the Ice Queen. She's essentially really quite pragmatic, she certainly commands a lot of respect, and you see it through the other guy. Another cool introduction, Buccaneer, right? Someone who himself is at the surface level really quite menacing looking, formidable, and you see that in the in the fight scene against Ed, but you see how he carries himself around her. So yeah, it really feels like there's a lot of respect for her, and I think both Ed and Al are also going to come to respect her, and I think it'll be the opposite as well. I think she'll, once she gets to know them a bit, once she gets to know Ed, she'll come to respect Ed as well. I think. Though again, she made it really clear, this is not I'm not a babysitter, there's no coddling. This is the North, right? And you see that these people, and this includes Mira herself, have been shaped by this harsh climate, and that this place has shaped a lot of resilient people. And also for that reason, I think this could end up being quite a fantastic learning experience for Ed and Al in their growth, for sure. But going back to the comparison I was making, Mira Armstrong and Louis Armstrong, essentially they are, different sides of the same coin, ultimately. But I really appreciate how she trusts her own instincts beyond anything else, right? Yes, the letter from her brother played a part for sure in terms of legitimizing, this individual that is at the front of the gates there. And of course, I'm guessing there is a bit of inspiration from The Wall, right? And I'm speaking of, A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. Though I'm guessing if there is a parallel to that, or if there is a bit of inspiration, it is probably not from the show, but from the books, right? Given the time frame. But yeah, I just love that setting. I really do. Something about snow, the setting of, that harsh climate, those harsh conditions. For me, it's a bit off topic here, but for me, The Hateful Eight is one of the best settings for a Tarantino film, right? There's something cozy, there's something quite magical even about that setting, to me at least, right? Knowing that just outside there's this raging storm, but inside, there's fire. Inside you're kind of protected from all of that, right? Or at least there's that notion of protection inside. So yeah, I'm really all about this setting, and I'm hoping this arc in the North kind of plays out for a bit, multiple episodes, hopefully 3-4 episodes at the least, hopefully. And also I really enjoyed the transition from the ripped letter to the size of the wall, right? And it's like a first time for us, the audience, and Ed at the same time. I thought that was great to really, really kind of establish the scope of this place. Yes, Ed and Al really start fanboying, really start, freaking out about how awesome it is, and she shuts them down almost immediately, right? Ruthless discipline. But yeah, I think I'll enjoy this character quite a bit. And, there are some similarities to perhaps someone like Izumi Sensei, right? There's a bit there for sure. But I think there's more than enough there to, suggest that this is a really unique character, a strong female character, once again, in her own right. But leading up to that, of course, Ed and Al get a firsthand, look and experience at the harsh climate, the harsh conditions of this place. And of course, they come across Buccaneer, who's rocking a totally different type of automail, right? Combat automail, crocodile, as he called it. And it seems to be made out of something else, right? Something that Ed was not expecting, because he tried to transmute or transmutate. Is it transmute or transmutate? It's one of those, I can't quite remember the exact term to use here. But yeah, he clearly had something else in mind. I believe it's transmute. I'm not sure. I'm kind of mixing the two terms up right now. Transmutate, if that's even a term. But it's kind of, in my head, it's all jumbled up at the moment. I'm sure you'll correct me. I believe it is transmute, right? But yeah, he had something else in mind, and it didn't really pan out how he thought it would. So yeah, I'm sure I'll get to find out soon enough. And the whole concept of automail being out here was kind of brought up, through that guy who got them out there in the first place. And you can noticeably see the facial features and the look of the people out here. Some of the locals certainly have a different look, for sure, right? So I thought that was a great touch. But yeah, he brought up automail, and then Garfield, he's joking, right? He's kind of, he's kind of joking. It comes across in a comedic fashion. Oh, they're going to die, right? But, clearly he knows that automail is going to struggle out there, as showcased through Ed's reactions to his automail out there, right? So, yeah, I think it's really cool that automail is still kind of in the focus beyond just, oh, it's this cool, thing that's a part of the characters. No, it's a functional, it's a functional element of the story, component of the story, right? That it is used for disabled people in this world, right? It's not just this cool add-on attachment. It looks cool, that's for damn sure, and it's really quite effective. And you see that on Buccaneer, it's being utilized in a different manner, right? Military grade automail is being used. And also, even before that, I thought it was really quite wholesome and lovely to see Ed and Al kind of react to the snow, right? Yeah, they've experienced snow back in the day. It's a rare situation, but they've experienced it, right? And it kind of brought those memories back. And I love them having that little moment together. Notice how Ed's snowmen are just as hardcore, even as a child, right? It kind of leads into that whole running theme of him fixing things and them looking really quite hardcore, skulls and all that, giving Ling that sword that looked quite hardcore. Even the buttons of his snowman back in the day as a young child, really quite noticeable, right? So yeah, I like those details kind of being a part of the story, little details like that. But yeah, it's great to see them kind of travel. Yes, there's a lot of sorrow behind it all, and the reason for that is really quite sad. But as Al himself mentioned, he never thought they'd be traveling like this, going to all these places so far up north. But yeah, I really enjoy that these two young adults really get to travel and get to learn about all of these different things and places, kind of almost like Hohenheim, who's been traveling from the looks of it quite a bit, who's been around the country and beyond, perhaps, right? Quite a bit. So I like how his children are kind of almost following in his footsteps, right? Perhaps not for the exact same reasons, but yeah, I like that. And speaking of other cultures and getting to learn about all types of different things, I really love Scar's group, right? You've got a mix of all of these different backgrounds and cultures. You've got Mei Chang, right? You've got Dr. Marco, you've got Scar, three different cultures kind of coming together. And, that post-credit scene, yes, they found Scar's brother's research. Now, it'll be interesting to see how much he can actually decipher, because it's been established now, firmly established, that, these alchemists, or a lot of them, encode their research, right? So I think Scar's arm, the ink on his arm is probably going to be needed at some point for sure, because Dr. Marco might kind of hit a dead end. But here you have two individuals who do have an understanding of the two different styles of alchemy, Mei Chang and alchemy, and then Dr. Marco and the alchemy of this country, right? I love how it's all coming together, right? These groups of different backgrounds. Scar's group specifically has a lot of this, doesn't it? And then also in terms of Mei Chang and Dr. Marco making it there, without being pursued. Scar and Yoki as well. Yoki played a part here. They're really quite effective in that sense. They gave Mei and Dr. Marco a head start, right? But Dr. Marco, and it kind of circles back to that, that shame that he carries forever, essentially, right? That the face he has now, this disfigured face, is the face he is content with, right? The face he deserves, the face of a monster. If you look at it from a superficial angle, right? From an outsider's perspective, say someone on the street that might see Dr. Marco, they might have a reaction to that. He feels like this is something he deserves, right? So, that whole concept of PTSD and the immense shame that a lot of them carry, right? Be it Dr. Knox, Dr. Marco, and a lot of the alchemists. It's really quite a significant component of the story. But the thing is, these characters like Dr. Knox and Dr. Marco, they are quite sympathetic as well. So us as the audience is kind of in their corner. But once again, the visual storytelling of the anime is used to great effect, right? Those shots of Mei Chang and Dr. Marco, tiny little figures at the bottom of the frame, right? Kind of establishing the scope of the North, of this place that they are in at the moment. Really lovely frames. But yeah, let's kind of go back to Scar. Now, it appears that, he actually did a lot of that before actually putting this escape into motion. And I'm speaking of him going to that, path. And this path is known to be quite treacherous, I suppose, that it's not really safe. But I guess he did that before actually putting all of the train part of this mission into motion, or this escape into motion. So he goes up there, he kind of uses his alchemy, destruction alchemy, as Kimberly kind of picked up on, and kind of sees the signs of alchemy being used here. But how about Kimberly in this episode, right? It's another great look at him and his philosophy. He really is quite a unique character of this story. And I think these types of characters are certainly necessary. And I think an ensemble cast of this scale really allows for a lot of different types of characters, right? So I've been enjoying it quite a bit, right? And I've been enjoying Kimberly quite a bit. And, he continues to be this agent of chaos, agent of death. This man who is extremely principled, this man who has an understanding of his role in all of this and his association with death, right? He has this acceptance. This is a no bullshit type of person. They've established that. He hates hypocrisy. He's essentially a bit of a thrill seeker as well, right? I believe the other really standout line of dialogue there, his little monologue as he's kind of found near death, right? And he revels in it, essentially. Of course, he's not going to die. This was essentially a taste of it, a first encounter. And, I've got to say, I was actually kind of caught off guard. But I think that's the right thing to do here, because it was realistic. For some reason, I wasn't expecting Kimberly to be handled like that, or handled in that manner. I don't know. I just kind of assumed, right? It's Kimberly, right? He's this formidable individual. He is going to give Scar quite a fight. But no, immediately became clear that he's kind of in a mismatch at this point in time, at least. And the really cool thing here is that the character is realizing this as it's happening. So yeah, I thought it was really cool that it did catch me off guard. He starts to realize, okay, I'm kind of rusty, and it all adds up. He is a little bit rusty, isn't he? And I love how at the end of the day, it was brute force and a metal pipe that does him. Takes him out for the time being, at least. And how about that line of dialogue? It's a really rare moment of snarky attitude, or a snarky, delivery of a line through Scar, right? The left side, was it, right? Kind of having a go at him because, of course, Kimberly did not forget, perfectly in line with his philosophy. He doesn't forget a face. He doesn't forget people he's killed. So he remembered Scar's family, he remembered Scar's brother, and he remembered Scar. There's a moment as both of them kind of lock eyes and realize and kind of remember. But yeah, now it appears that Scar and Yoki are kind of stuck in no man's land. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of get themselves out of that situation. But yeah, Kimberly, you see that he's really quite intelligent, really intelligent, but in this specific case, he was actually quite reckless, pursuing Scar just by himself, right? Essentially, he kind of has that obsession, right? Because, you see in the car that Envy actually reminded him that, this is someone you were supposed to kill, right? They got out. So you see that he's taken that responsibility on, that it was his responsibility initially. So he's going to make sure he's the one who goes after him and takes him out, takes care of him. So that intelligent approach is kind of tossed out, right? The moment he realizes, okay, here's my chance, right? And yeah, it's a bit of a reality check for him and his physical condition at this moment in time. He was not ready for this encounter, right? As far as hand-to-hand combat goes, the brute force of Scar, he's essentially one of the best fighters in the story, right? And someone who's a bit rusty, a bit, out of practice, you see how damaging that was. Um, yeah, he took quite a beating, and yeah, again, it caught me by surprise as well, right? But I'm so happy because it is realistic, isn't it? But ultimately, it does end up being a bit of an impulsive choice and move for Kimberly, doesn't it? But also, that's in line with his character, right? This whole disregard for his own safety. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying Kimberly and his inclusion in the main story at this point, right? It's quite a substantial role at this point. But yeah, there's a bit of taunting as well. He is trying to bait Scar, and I think even though Scar sees a moment of red at one point, right? He is agitated, and you see that look in his eyes. I think he did a good job of actually controlling himself ultimately. And it kind of reminded me of Street Fighter, the 90s live action film. I actually really enjoyed that film. Yes, it's really bad, it's terrible, but there's something quite enjoyable about it still. But Bison, he tells Chun-Li that, oh, that was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was only Tuesday, right? Something along those lines. A similar situation here, right? Kimberly is really quite nonchalant about it. Of course, to Scar, that was the most important day of his life, the day his family died by the hands of this madman. But for Kimberly, it was just another day, right? Killing a lot of people, and you see that he takes a lot of pride in the things he did, and for that reason, there is a bit of an obsession here. Going after Scar, the Schwallen, from that time. But all of that being said, Kimberly remembered the face of the people he killed. Okay, so I think that's about it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access, and there should be 3 episodes of early access at this point, or perhaps even full length, timer-based full length, if you are, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. And it is going to go to 4 episodes of early access at some point soon as well. Also, if you're into social media, consider checking out the links. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is.